Evening YouTube, I'm out in the shop. This is part of a string of videos that I've made recently, this one being a little different. This one concerns my 1978 Sears GT 19.9. It was destined to be a project tractor pretty much from the very start, because although it was well maintained in its lifetime, it still had an array of problems that came from it being used as an acreage tractor for 35 years. So that's 3,500 hours of mowing, snow blowing, and rototilling. Everything that you can imagine a tractor doing, it did. And of course, as you can see, the previous owner did his best to keep up with maintenance. Genuine Onan air filters, genuine Onan oil filters. He never let a belt shred, always kept every piece of documentation, every original part. He over-maintained this thing like crazy, and yet still it really is getting old and tired. So it was destined to be a project. For a while it sat in the shop and I didn't do anything with it. I've kind of actually been ashamed of it, you know, just because it didn't really work out the way I wanted it to, but that's okay, because I'm definitely going to make it work one way or the other. That starts this evening. I've been working on it for about 2.5 to 3 hours now, and I'll explain the progress. So this is a pile of parts that I took off the tractor. Here's the grill piece, here's the idler assembly guard, belt guards, mule drive, and the idler pulley assembly itself. It's pretty worn. It was wobbling around in there and rubbing up against the engine shroud. So I am going to replace this thing. I believe it's a bushing of some sort. I'll replace it to the best of my ability to try and stop the wobble. I think the idler pulley is okay, seems okay, and this bracket has been re-welded once already, so everything's good there. I just need to replace the bushing, and I'll probably get some help as to how to do that, what size of bushing to use, etc. That's my first thing I was going to do, is fix that idler pulley, tighten it up. Second thing I was going to do is replace that mint new old stock Sears nose cone with an older one that I've already repaired and painted flat black, and then just mount it to that hood, because being a collector, really a hoarder at heart, I feel that it's kind of my responsibility to take care of a good nose cone that's never been broken, so I'll preserve it, because you don't see many of those. You know, most owners, they didn't really want to go out and spend the extra money. I think those things must have cost $150, $200 from Sears. However, the previous owner of this tractor did, so there sits a mint nose cone, and I intend to take care of it. Here's another thing you'll notice. This is the engine. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, I took out the engine. I was having issues with this engine, fuel issues I think. It was completely down on power, lackluster compression, around 75 or 80 pounds, not to mention the 10-pound difference between each of the respective cylinders. So it needs some work. It has worn out rings. Definitely a rebuild, or at least replacing the rings with oversized ones, is in order in the future for this engine. But for now, I think as long as I've fixed its issue with the carburetor, I'm probably just going to use the Hugh Jeffries method and dump a bottle of Lucas oil down the oil fill, just to keep it from consuming that much oil, because I still want to use this thing, and rebuilding it's going to cost like $250 or $300. So over to the tractor. Here you can see at the front of it, this is what's left after I pulled out the engine. It's very dirty and grimy, and that is either grass from, 35 mowing seasons, or it's an old mouse house. Either way, that's going to go, and this whole front area of the tractor is going to get cleaned up in the spring as soon as I have access to a pressure washer. This is going to be a very slow project indeed, considering how long the Canadian winter lasts. You got your remnants of electrical connections here and there that served the engine. Your throttle and choke cables have been unbolted. This is what remains of the mule drive. You can see straight through there, it's a gaping hole. So I'll clean up under the engine, and as you can imagine, the bottom of the engine and underneath the shroud is still coated with that same thick coat of dirt that's built up over the years. I'll just clean everything up and make it as new as I can. Another thing that many of you users who have watched other videos of this tractor may have noted is the fact that there is a massive amount of steering wheel play here. Someone has already tried to take the steering wheel off, so there's some very unpleasant melted plastic holes in there. I'm not sure how to go about this repair either, taking the steering wheel off, but there's a bolt that's loose under there that someone didn't get tight all the way, so I have to finish that job. Yet another thing that I'm looking at fixing is this plastic dashboard, because almost all of them are broken, and even with the best of maintenance, 3,500 hours on a tractor could not have treated the dashboard any worse. Honestly, look, there's scratches everywhere. That's where the hood's been rusting up for the past 35 years. It's broken around both bottom bolt mounts, and you can see a crack there that's just starting to get bigger. And oh boy, wait until you see the other side. It gets twice as bad. Not only, as I said, is it broken around these bolt mounts, but just look at how far the crack goes up, all the way to there, and it's starting to split into smaller cracks too. So that's a big problem, and if I don't get it fixed, this entire dashboard will crack right in half, and I will be forced to spend monstrous amounts of money for one off of eBay or a similar site. So that's another one of my objectives. And finally, going around to the back of the tractor, you can see that I have this wheel off. Reason being, I need to get to that brake band. I need to reline the brake band and readjust the clutch, because basically 3,500 hours of stopping have completely worn out this brake. It's one of the few Sears Suburbans that I have seen with worn out brakes. So I'll need to, as I said, reline the brake pad and readjust the clutch so that when you put your foot down, it's not so far down that it's near the flywheel. I have to shift my weight on that seat in order to get the clutch fully depressed. And even then, it doesn't really stop the belt from spinning unless you have it in gear. So unless you get it into another gear real quick, you're screwed. You have to shut it down and start it back up in gear, of course, with the clutch still in, but that slight resistance stops the belt from spinning. So anyway, I have no clue when I'll get back to this project. I'll try and work on it, although I can't guarantee any frequency of videos or anything like that. So just, I don't know. I'll get around to it when I do. For now, goodbye YouTube, good night.